Hey everybody. Well, it has been roughly 3 years since anybody has seen this airplane, or the progress, I should say. And in fact, until last weekend, the majority of it has been hanging by the ceiling behind that light fixture up there. And I was, I've hinted toward starting a new project that I would start working on over the summer and really tackle this next winter. And it would be roughly this size, a little bit smaller. I think 90 inches in length and about a 110-inch wingspan is what it was going to be. But then I started factoring in the cost of the wood and all that stuff, and yeah, it was getting really expensive really fast. And the fact that I would have to fabricate everything myself, landing gear, cowl, canopy, everything. So that was kind of getting me discouraged. And then I just happened to peek up in the rafters over there and went, wait a minute, I already have another big airplane and a big old engine sitting over there. Why don't I just finish that? So, last weekend I decided to pull the Hostetler 30% Super Chipmunk down and start working on it again. And quickly after I took it down, I remembered why I hung it up 3 years ago. I built the fuselage crooked, and I wasn't sure how I was going to fix that. So I put it away because I started working on it in late 2019, still during flying season. And when I started contemplating on working on it again, um, I had decided to build the Carolina Custom Kits Chipmunk instead, which, as you all know, is that beautiful little monster over there. Which is now looking pretty small. I used to think that, that one made a Goldberg look small, but now this monstrosity here is making my Carolina Kits version look really small. But anyways, where I left off, it's been a long time since I've done a video on this thing. I had the tail section pretty much built. Um, everything was built. I think I had the rudder all beveled, but I hadn't quite finished up the stabilizer yet. I hadn't beveled anything. So last weekend I finished all the beveling. I hinged all the control surfaces, did a final fill, final sand. So these are pretty much done. Um, and as I said, I started working on this again last weekend. I had pretty much run out of glue. I didn't have any of my push rod material, so I couldn't do too much to the fuselage. So what I did decide to do was fit the fin and the stabilizer to the fuselage, which, as you can see here, it fits really well. Had to make a saddle. That all turned out pretty good. And it's just sitting in there right now. And you can kind of see the little mounting platform that I have for the leading edge post to sit on. Let me remove all this stuff so we can kind of get a better look at it. Stand by. Okay, so last weekend I pretty much finished up this area here, and there's really nothing to go by as far as the plans for doing this. The plans show somewhat of a different method of doing it, and I just didn't want to go through all that. So I put a platform down here with two little supports on either side, so that way the fin trailing edge post that slides through the stab sits right into here, and the leading edge post goes into here. And I put these little brackets or guides or walls, whatever you want to call them. So even without the stab on there, I can stick the fin perfectly in place without the stab being on there. And that's critical for when I sheet this area here, is I'm going to start lowering the fin into place and making cuts in the sheeting so the fin will fit inside. So it was important to get this set up to where I could get the fin in there without the stab and the elevators and all that hoo-ha on there. But anyways, so also last weekend I was able to straighten the fuselage, which, as you can see, I had to break a few things and move a few things, and you can see how far off it was. Normally, if your fuselage sides are the same length, everything in the nose is square, which it is, you should be able to come back here and literally pinch the two sides together, and they'll be perfectly even and the fuselage will be perfectly straight. Well, that wasn't the case. So I had to bust a bunch of stringers, and you can't see it underneath the sheeting anymore, but I had to literally cut all the stringers so I could actually tweak the fuselage one direction. And then at that point, it had developed a twist. I can't remember which way. So once I twisted it back, I put a couple braces in there just to help hold it. These can probably come out. They don't need to be in there anymore, especially now that I have the plywood tail wheel bracket on there. That really holds everything. And now that the majority of the fuselage is sheeted, it is permanently in this shape. It's not going to go anywhere. So, sometime during the week, the pushrod material showed up. So all the sheeting that you see, which is a lot, that was all done between yesterday and today. And I have gone through a lot of glue. Yeah, those are all empty now. And they were full 2 days ago. So, yeah, I've been busy. But before I could do any of this, I had to lay out how I was going to do all my push rods. Now, it's kind of hard to see in there. We might be able to see a little bit. Yeah, you can kind of see in there. If you remember when I did the Carolina custom kits, Chipmunk, how I did the push rods, this is the exact same setup. So you can see where all these tubes come out in here. They're loose. I still have to make a final brace to come across here that'll hold them all. But the way this is going to work is I have two of these Sullivan giant scale, basically they're just nye rods, but they're the big ones. I have one on each side. These are for the elevators, and these run through crisscross about right here and then poke out the sides. As you can see, these are heavily gooped with epoxy and micro balloons, so they cannot go anywhere. And you can see the braces that I've put across, and there's I think 4 or 5 of these in there. And everywhere where these tubes attach to these braces, they're attached with epoxy and fiberglass. So those are very rigid. They cannot move. And that's very important for the elevators. So many modelers throughout the years have said you can't use nye rods on anything because they flex. Well, they do flex. That's the purpose of them, so you can get them into interesting places. The key to success is to make sure they don't move, and these do not move. So that's going to work out quite well. And you can see we got some blue ones up here. The blue ones inside the airplane are relatively unsupported. Might not be able to see. Yeah, you kind of can. These can move around quite a bit. They're supported where they exit the airplane, but in the middle they're pretty flimsy. And that's because these are going to be used. These are just guide tubes for the wires that are going to be used for the pull system. So I'm going to have 2 sets of wires come out here, which will be the pull for the rudder. And then I have 2 of them coming out the bottom, which will be for the pull for the tail wheel, which allows me to keep just 1 servo up here, which is going to have just a 3-inch arm that'll move everything for the tail. So I won't have any servos in the back of the airplane, no wires coming up. Per the plans, I was supposed to make put in a brass fixture with a wire that goes up and pokes back and goes into the rudder for the tail wheel. I didn't want to do any of that. That's just more stuff, more weight toward the back, which is already very heavy back here, which is why I opted to go this route, so I can keep as much weight as far forward as possible. So I got all that put in, midweek. Then Friday, all my glue showed up, so I was able to start doing some sheeting. And honestly, I only intended to sheet the nose area, probably back to here. That's all I intended to do. Well, I just kept going. Now, me and sheeting do not usually get along too well. It's more of a more of a brain thing with me. Just thinking about it bothers me. But every time I have a project where I look at it and go, oh my God, what am I going to do now? I start getting into it, and things just start falling together. And typically with a plane like this, you would glue a bunch of sheets together and wrap it around most of the fuselage with tape or rubber bands, whatever, and glue it to the airplane that way, doing just, one big piece. Well, I've never had good luck with that. I do it sort of the same, but very different. I started out, excuse me, by doing this side piece right here, and then putting this little scap guy in there, because this is a weird little shape. I don't know why. That's per the plans, so it's there. So once that is on there, that gives me a nice straight guide on the bottom and for the top. And it breaks right on a stringer, so it's halfway on a stringer. So from there, I did the top to the center, did this piece here. Of course, nice generous opening up here. The cowl comes back like right around here, something like that. So this doesn't get covered up. Now I got good access to fuel tank, ignition, servo, throttle servo, whatever I need. Plenty of room. I mean, I can reach both of my hands down in there. So I repeated the process on the other side. And then I did this piece right here, all in one piece. I mean, there's two pieces of sheeting put together, but that's all done in one piece. Then I did the bottom to the center, then the top to the center, repeated on the other side. So now I have a break right here. This may not look all that pretty, but it's very smooth. I haven't even filled anything yet, and it's already very smooth. And this is a former right here. So anytime you're going to break sheeting like this, I don't know what the proper terminology for it is. I just call it breaking the sheeting. You don't want to do anything like this where you have two sets of sheets coming together like that unless it's on a former. It's kind of like, think of your floor joists or when you're putting a roof on your house. All the boards have to butt together on a solid surface. So they do. So once I figured out that this is where I wanted to stop, then I did the sides. You can clearly see I did this piece right here, going all the way back to this point there. Then I did this side to the center, the other side to the center. Then I did the bottom, all in the same fashion. And I find it easier to start by putting just a piece on the straightest part, and that gives me a good, kind of an easier starting point to wrap it to the other side, versus trying to do the whole thing, because that's always kind of a pain in the butt. And I use a combination of CA and wood glue. Like for instance, let's talk about this piece right here. You can see it is from here, wraps down to here. So what I do is there's 1, 2, and then the top stringer here. What I do is I put wood glue on this stringer here, since I don't have any access to it. And I put wood glue on this former where everything butts up. So I CA this, once I put, this is 1, 2, and a scab. I put those together, making all the measurements and trial fitting. But then I glue the whole situation with CA right here, where this piece of sheeting meets halfway across a stringer. And now that I've already put the wood glue on the other areas, I wrap it over to the top. I glue the top with CA, which holds it in place. And now this is in the wood glue, so it's not going anywhere. And then I use thin CA while holding it firmly in place and glue it to this former here. And yeah, you can see that there's nothing there. I don't understand. This has been the goofiest airplane to build, because there's just so many things that don't make sense. Yeah, I mean, this is going to get covered with the canopy anyway, but it's just one of those things that's kind of odd. This is a very interesting airplane. The plans are of little use. If you try to go by the plans and fully understand the plans, you're probably not going to finish this airplane. Oh, be quiet. But anyway, so that's kind of how the process I do for sheeting. It goes faster that way, in my opinion, um, and it just works out well. And I didn't have to soak anything. Typically, for, as you can see, this is a pretty good radius right here. Normally, for these sheets, you would want to wrap them around like a mail tube overnight after soaking them with ammonia and water, so they keep that form. Because of the way I do the sheeting, as long as the wood is soft enough, which thankfully the wood supplied in this kit was pretty soft, I was able to do all that without. I got a little bit of a stress fracture right there. Have to fix that. I'm gonna go around and touch up a lot of it with some CA where it's soft. But anyways, even in areas back here, as long as I have soft enough sheets, I'm not gonna have to soak any of them. So now what I'm gonna do is from here to here and basically all the way around. I'm gonna do it in two pieces. I'll use this as my center. I'll sheet this next. And of course, the wood's going to go all the way across. You know, it's going to center right here. And this is why it was important to have this type of setup for the fin. Because once this is sheeted, I need to cut an opening in it so I can slide the fin down inside. So I'll be able to stick the trailing edge of the fin in here and slowly start angling the front of the fin down. And I'll be able to cut the sheeting just right to fit the fin down inside. And kind of the same thing back here. Once this is sheeted, I'll run another piece from this stringer all the way forward, wrapping up to center here. And then I'll make the appropriate cut for the stab. Everything back here is going to be pieced in because of the push rods. This one right here, when I make this skin that goes over top, I'm going to cut it. I'm going to make a decent opening to go over top. This is going to be flush with the sheeting once it's done. So it's going to be cut off and sanded flush with the sheeting. Then I'll just have to fill in those empty areas. But that's why I decided to sheet everything to this point, because this is going to have to be done in some smaller pieces just to make it easier on myself. So yeah, that is where we are at. This has been an extremely easy airplane to build crooked. So many times I've had to stand back and look at it and go, no, I need to tweak that a little bit. But now, as you can see, it is just straight as an arrow. Turned out really well. Not sure if we'll be able to... Oh yeah, we can actually see inside pretty good. So as you can see, you can kind of look back in there and see the braces that go across that hold the push rod housings. So yeah, it's very critical to get all that done before I started skinning it, because basically I had the top, everything was, when I put the plane away 3 years ago, everything was stringered, but I didn't have the bottom formers, or that's enough. Go away. I didn't have the stringers or the formers on the bottom, because I needed all of these to be done so I could figure out where to poke them through and put little supports where need be. But I needed that access from the bottom in order to put the braces in. So yeah, in 2 days, it's been a lot of work, and I actually have something to show for. I haven't... Goodness gracious. I haven't put the formers on the bottom of the nose section yet. I'm not doing that until the center section is permanently attached to the airplane. I don't think there's another former that goes in there, because this all gets covered up by the wing fillet. So pretty much nothing else is going to be done to this until the center section is on there. I am going to finish up this, however. I'm almost out of glue. I should have enough to be able to finish all this stuff up. And once that's done, I'm going to do some minor filling anywhere where I had to put pieces together on the airplane. The sheeting that I put together off the airplane, as you can see, you can't tell I did it, because I did it off the airplane. So that's as smooth as can be. But all these areas here, I'm going to put some filler on it, and I'm going to knock the filler down, but I'm not going to final sand it or shape it until I'm ready to actually sand the entire fuselage. And that'll just kind of blend everything in. And I've been using this stuff right here. It's made by Deluxe, which I believe they're based out of the UK. And this is basically just a different version of the old Hobbico filler that we all used to enjoy so much until somebody discontinued it. Wonder who that was. But anyways, I've been using this for a little while now, and I tested it out on a couple spots. So you can see where I put these together, I had a little bit of a gapitis going on there. Put just a little bit on there. You can sand it in 10 minutes, and it's the same, once it's dry and sanded, it's the same consistency as balsa, which is really good. I've experimented with so many different types of lightweight spackles, and very few of them will hold up to covering. If you're glassing an airplane for anything like this, you can go get the cheapest of the cheap, dollar store spackle, whatever you want, because you're going to be putting fiberglass cloth and resin over top of it, so you don't have to worry about that. But when you're covering with an iron-on covering like Monocoat, which I'll be doing, you need to use a filler that's strong and the same consistency as the balsa wood. And this stuff is made for this, so that should work out very, very well. And I think that's about it for now. As you can see, I sheeted it with the firewall on there. I just obviously didn't glue it to the front, because I'm leaving the firewall off for now. You can see it sitting over there. So that way I still have to put the rails in to make a shelf for the fuel tank. So I'm going to leave this open for a long time. I don't see any reason to glue that on anytime soon. And once again, this area here stays open, so very, very generous opening to get myself in there to do whatever I need to do. And I think I posted last week on Facebook that I was working on this, and I've been asked, is this going to fly this summer? No, absolutely not. This is a very, very in-depth project. This is going to take a long time to finish. So I'm going to work on it off and on through the flying season, just to give me something to build this summer on the rainy days and the nights that I don't sleep very often. And hopefully finish it next winter. I have a canopy already. I am hoping I get a return email from Fiberglass Specialties, because they don't have the cowl and wheel pants listed on their website, but they do have the molds. I know they sell them, but in order to order one, I have to get a hold of them directly. They don't answer their phone, and so far they don't respond to emails. So a little nervous, but we'll see. The landing gear is made by Sierra. And I just got an email back from Daryl yesterday. He said he's got a set in stock ready to go. So just waiting to finalize how he wants me to send the payment, so I will get the landing gear coming. I really didn't want to spend that kind of money at this stage of the project, but that's a very crucial part. Because the way that the center section is designed and the way the gear mounts, Daryl's gear is built for this airplane. So to fabricate my own would be quite a chore. So if they're available now, I'm going to buy them now. I'll just bite the bullet and do it now. Other than that, probably won't bring you back for another build update video for a while, because it's going to be a while before anything really substantial looks different. But yeah, we'll see. If I get a lot more work done on it and it starts to look more like an airplane, I'll definitely bring you back. All right, till the next time, later.